be on in a second. I think I've got it figured out. Give me 1 second. All right, that should do it. Fingers crossed. Does it work? Hey, look at that. I'm in a hotel room. Go figure. Hi, everybody. I'm on the road. Look at that. I've managed to actually pull it up in a hotel room, no less. We've actually got a show going on. I think this is the gift of a year of Zoom has created a situation where the internet in hotels is now expected to be nearly live stream level. So fingers crossed it actually amounts to, it holds it together. We'll see. And I've obviously got to make a new non-green screen version of my setup, but piece by piece. I did, by the way, go ahead and make, I have to do this thing or whatever. It's hard to know what to do today in terms of order, just because I only have a short time today because I have shows tonight, 6 and 8 o'clock tonight Pacific time, Alameda Comedy. If you go to the website, you can stream any of the shows or none of them or all of them or whatever. So they're picking me up somewhere between 4:30 and 5 o'clock my time. So I will probably get a call that they're in the lobby and go, and gather my shit up and run. But, there have been worse things. But I wanted to show you. So I made this today just so I could have a frame set up that looks halfway decent. You know what I mean? Which is, me in this little window without a green screen. And then the stuff over there so that we get kind of a general idea. I know I'm looking the wrong direction because the TV in this room is there to me, but there to me. Anyways, hi, there we go. But the nice thing is I do have the chat set up where I can get a good look at it all the time. And yes, I am indeed in California. I'm up near San Francisco, Oakland area in Alameda, California. And I am running on next to no sleep. Yeah, my flight was at 6:45 this morning. Short flight, but just up late last night and other stuff, and then it's a lot. It's just a lot of a lot. So I got about maybe 3.5 hours sleep last night, and then I landed and I got here and see I have this is a little inside baseball, and I'll get to the real show in a second. But just so you guys know, when you're on the road as a stand-up especially, and you're flying in for a gig, one of the things is you have to make a decision about whether to fly the night before or the day of the first gig. Now, rarely do I fly same day as a show, right? Most of the time, if I'm flying, I'm coming in the night before for just safety's sake. If something goes south, I've got a whole other, half a day to get where I'm going. If it's across the country, if it's East Coast or something like that, for sure I'm going in the night before. But since technically speaking, if the shit completely hit the fan, I could still hop in my car and drive all the way up here in 5 hours, right? So I was like, okay, I'll go on the same day, but I will always take the first flight I can possibly get in case something happens with that, and then I've got a second one to fall on. You don't book the second flight, and then if that fails, you miss your shows. That's just dumb. So first flight this morning was 6:45 a.m. Catch it and get in at 8:15. You can't check into your hotel till 3 o'clock. Now, most of the time, somebody will be relatively nice, and you can get in at, they'll let you in noon, 1-ish. But either way, from 9 a.m. till whatever, you're either you're putting your bags in storage and going for a walk around town, or you're going to a coffee shop and trying not to fall asleep, which is what I did. And so I went to, I literally, and I didn't want to be rude and sit there for all 4 hours or whatever while having, one coffee or something like that. So I literally bounced to 3 different places. And by the time I was done, I'd been to this place called We Cafe, which is nearby, a Pete's Coffee and a Starbucks. So I was well caffeinated by the time my room was open and thud. And so the idea of taking a nap is completely ridiculous. And I've got 2 shows tonight, and I feel like if I really laid down for any length of time, I would not get up. So I laid down for I got about 45 minutes, but I really basically just laid there awake, trying to nap, didn't work. So here I am. Boink. And this is the show today. By the way, there's so much of this, like Ted Cruz and that crowd at the border, that it's just, I mean, it's just embarrassing. It would be offensive if it wasn't just so friggin' pitiful. Let's see if I can find some of the more organized stuff on it. There you go. This nonsense. Good Lord. And listen to this idiot. God, terrible.
So it's past midnight.
Heidi's in the bushes. The kids are in Cancun.
Standing on the shore of the Rio Grande. The water is right behind me.
So you know it's a shore. He's not in the plants department at a Home Depot.
I'm down the Texas border.
Oh yeah, interestingly enough, very different. I don't know if you've noticed the detail, but in this story about Ted Cruz and Texas, there is no weather murdering people, and Ted is on the Texas side of the Mexico border. So it's kind of different.
Along with 18 senators, we made the trip to see the crisis that is playing out.
Yeah, and he got there just in time to be there in the dark.
We've already gone to detention facilities
like coyotes in the background
that are overrun. Many of them with families, small children. We saw multiple mothers who were nursing infant babies.
Ew. Privacy. What are you doing? Did you ask to see more nursing mothers?
Babies who had just crossed over and were being...
We had to wait almost 10 minutes before they started nursing. We're like, no, we can't leave yet. Titties.
In outdoor holding pens.
Outdoor holding pens. No, they're not. They're in Quonset hut tents. They're not outdoors.
Where they were sleeping on the floor and nursing their babies.
And as soon as you stopped masturbating, you started making phone calls. This is such a dipshit. This is by the way, Ted Cruz publishes shocking images of the people who've just arrived. Literally, who people come in before they're processed. They're given blankets and food in a backpack full of like hygiene supplies and that kind of stuff. Then they're tested, then they're moved out of there. But immediately, when there's a pile of people coming through, this is how they're dealt with. This is what they look like when they first arrive. They don't stay that way, and that's the way they want it to look. Just look at this dickhead. Oh my God. The horror. And then we get to this part. Well, I'll just, this is, where are they? Yeah. So Cornyn, obviously, and I can't do all this. This is a 46-minute press conference in the time allotted.
And particularly in the...
But the fun part is watching them pretend to give a crap.
Beautiful, vibrant, and exciting Rio Grande Valley. We, of course, come here often and value the friendships and the work that we get a chance to do together on a bipartisan basis.
What? It's a group of nothing but Republicans.
Of course, what brings us here now is this immediate humanitarian crisis. The Border Patrol...
Yeah, it's the humanitarian crisis they're worried about.
Patrol and Health and Human Services, all the government officials tell us they are doing the best they can.
Uh-huh.
But they're being overwhelmed by sheer numbers. And the smugglers and the cartels are doing this on purpose because...
Yes, smugglers smuggle people on purpose. No one drives across the border with a family of 12 in their trunk and goes, shit, where's my dog?
They know.
I thought it was the... Did you guys... Ah, man.
Getting paid by the head for as many people as they can get into the country, covering Border Patrol up with children to take care of.
Covering Border Patrol, flooding the idea with children so they can't deal with it. All the more reason why, by the way, individuals are being turned away. So it's not working. If your plan as a smuggler is to is to bulldoze a bunch of children into the process to try and get your people through, it isn't working because they are prioritizing the children over the adults and turning them back immediately.
Taking them off the front line presents an opportunity for them to smuggle drugs, methamphetamine, heroin, and
Fentanyl.
fentanyl into the United States. So we thought it was really important to be
Which, by the way, comes in through the ports and largely is made in China.
able to bring our colleagues from the Senate who are not from border states, who don't get to come here as often as Senator Cruz and I do, to show them.
Well, I mean, obviously, they don't cross the border as much either.
This great region, and it's been a wonderful day. We got here last night, had a chance to go out on some nighttime operations with the Border Patrol, but it's great to welcome them.
Did you bag any skins, you weirdo?
But here's the bottom line.
I got a free hat.
The Border Patrol and Health and Human Services and the non-governmental organizations that are struggling to deal with this flood of humanity tell us they cannot get ahead of this flood of humanity without policy changes in Washington, D.C.
Right, like comprehensive immigration reform and an actual plan to do that, or like, okay, yeah.
The smugglers, the drug runners, they understand our laws and they know how to exploit them to their benefit. So ending catch and release, making sure people with legitimate claims get to present them to an immigration judge, I think should be a priority. And then perhaps we can begin to look at other parts of our broken immigration system. But I'm very proud of the fact that we had such an enthusiastic turnout among all these great colleagues in the United States Senate. I'm glad they're here. I think.
Yeah, where else are they going to be? I'm sorry. What are Republicans busy doing otherwise? Are they crafting bills and trying to solve problems? Does anyone actually believe that any of those senators are engaged in any actual governing?
And then they had a great educational experience. Let me turn it over to my colleague and friend, Senator Cruz.
Thank you.
That's unfortunate.
John.
Thank you. I'd like to do my impersonation of a bush. Dry brush. This is just when you thought I had a neck.
It is great to be back in the Rio Grande Valley.
Why? You're apparently there dealing with a humanitarian crisis. I mean, obviously you're just down there to spank the monkey while immigrant women feed their babies or something?
It is terrific that John and I were able to bring 18 senators down
On the public tit.
to Texas, down
No pun intended.
to the valley to see firsthand the crisis that is unfolding here.
Yeah, that's really the greatest reason to come down here. I mean, the skiing kicks ass, but
All of us today witnessed the Biden cages.
the Biden cages.
What is occurring here on the border is heartbreaking, and it is
If he had a heart, it would be broken.
a tragedy. You know, as we stand by the banks of the Rio Grande, we have an army
Which I'm not convinced is there because the shot is so blown out. It looks like you guys are all auditioning for an Apple iPod commercial from 2002.
of TV cameras here. It is striking that not a single one of these cameras is allowed in the Donna facility.
Why?
We requested that media accompany us in the facility. The Biden administration said no.
I love how he's like doing his best AOC circa 2017 impersonation. Thanks, Diana.
The Trump administration had
Cut Dynasty.
allowed media inside.
Oh, by the way, I take immigration and the situation on the border very seriously, which is why I don't take these assholes seriously at all. I'm just saying, to clarify, it's kind of important that you know the distinction, that the more serious an issue is, the less I have a responsibility to take posers and assholes like these seriously when they talk about it. Yeah, just to clarify, anybody who thinks that I think that the plight of children crossing the border is something to joke about. That's not what I'm joking about. I'm joking about these guys pretending to give a shit all of a sudden.
facilities like that. The Obama administration allowed media inside facilities like that. The George W. Bush administration had, the Bill Clinton administration had. But the Biden administration wants to hide what is going on here.
Okay, what do they want to hide? The volume?
Not only that, but a number of us took pictures and took videos.
So you were able to take pictures and videos and post them? So they didn't confiscate your phones and you were able to post stuff? They just didn't let film crews in?
Because the American people have a right to know what is happening here. And the Biden administration sent down political handlers to try to keep silent, to try to keep the American people not knowing what's going on. The Donna facility is a giant tent city.
Uh-huh.
Built with a capacity of 250, it has nearly 4,000 people in it. We saw cages after cages after cages.
Yeah, of the people that were backed up, that were on the Mexican side of the border for over 2 years, who've basically turned those into tent cities and now are making it across because they think they'll actually have their case adjudicated, especially asylum seekers. So you're looking at 2 years worth of asylum seekers being, adjudicated or pushed through the system in less than 6 weeks' time. But please tell me how it's his fault.
Of little girls, of little boys, lying side by side, touching each other.
Is there a way this asshole can discuss any part of this without creeping the shit out of me at all times?
Covered with reflective emergency blankets. There was no 6-foot space, there was no 3-foot space, there wasn't a 3-inch space between the children lined up one after the other after the other.
And he would know because he measured with his penis. Sorry. I'm sorry. This is so gross.
And children as young as infants. We saw playpens with infants and toddlers playing. We also...
Wait, infants and toddlers playing. Playing. All right.
Also saw a group of children who just today tested positive for COVID-19.
Uh-huh. So the whole thing about opening up schools because kids aren't really a problem, that's bullshit now? So now that brown kids coming across the border can get it, maybe you'll rethink the kind of opening schools without enough PPE and the no.
The Donna facility alone reports roughly 10% of the individuals being held there are testing positive for COVID-19. Rates dramatically higher than the U.S. population, and the Biden administration is taking people who are testing positive for COVID-19 and locking them in cages side by side. This is inhumane, it is wrong, and it is...
It's putting people who are COVID positive together because they can't recatch from each other. And anybody who needs medical attention is getting it.
The direct consequence.
By the way, all of these guys, all of them, are against vaccinating the immigrants as they come in. Just so you know. Just in case you're like adults, anybody, they're against giving them free health care by vaccinating them when they come. And just in case you were wondering how little a shit he actually gives.
Of policy decisions by the Biden administration to stop building the wall, to return to catch and release, and to end the stay in Mexico policy.
So it would be better if they were sick in Mexico as children, or that the children themselves that are unaccompanied, it would be better if they were sleeping 3 inches apart in a cartel town on the dirt without blankets, food, education, the ability to have a roof over their head. That would be preferable.
A number of us are releasing those photographs and releasing those videos so the American people can see what's happening here.
I'm very afraid of the accidental pictures we almost might get from Ted Cruz.
Needs to stop. It is a crisis. It is a tragedy, and it is a man-made crisis. This was avoidable. This was...
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously... Well, I mean, I got obviously some of them because of the hurricane came up here. 2 hurricanes. But yeah, the gangs and the dictatorships and the strongmen that they're trying to escape. That's absolutely the man-made part of it. And obviously they good majority of them walked, and the ones that didn't walk were driven. So man-made.
This was preventable.
Well, yeah, it's preventable by letting them starve in Mexico or stay sick and die.
And
But pro-life.
regardless of your party, Republican or Democrat, you should look at what's going on here
And blame Democrats who've been there for 6 weeks.
say enough is enough. This must stop. Johnson.
Thanks, Ted.
Jonathan.
Well, I want to thank
I'd like to thank everybody for letting me come down here and basically just be taller and better looking than everyone. I never pass up an opportunity to stand next to Ted Cruz because it makes anybody look better, but especially me.
Ted and John for making this trip available to the rest of us. It was
And whew, that barbecue last night was fantastic. It's funny. I've never had armadillo, cooked like that before. They call it possum on the half shell.
incredibly informative, incredibly instructive, very sobering, and
Not credibly instructive, not credibly informative.
as Ted said, I think really preventable. This shouldn't have happened, and I think one of the lessons we learned is that if you don't build it, they will come.
Oh, God.
When you don't finish the job and secure the border, you're inviting people into this country, and many of the changes made.
What? Hold on. Who's inviting people into this country? People are being invited into this country. Weird.
By the
But, I'm sorry. Is it when they were told the border isn't open in English or when they were told the border isn't open in Spanish? Well,
current administration, they were forewarned that this would happen. They were told in advance.
they were like, there'll be a bunch of people. They're all right there. Hungry. Many of them sick. Lots of them unaccompanied children. If you let them in, we don't have the facilities to handle them kind of in a normal way. But the alternative, of course, is letting them rot in the desert. So obviously, the Republicans intervened, letting the Biden administration know that, if you see a minor child in the desert by themselves, it's best for the humanity of the whole thing to turn that little bastard around and send him right back into a cartel town. That's because that's the Christian thing to do.
This was predictable that you were going to have thousands of people flooding across.
Why was it predictable? Oh, because Trump dismantled the entire processing system and made everybody stay in Mexico, so they've all just been building up there like a game of Risk.
Across the border. And the thing that's probably most concerning, and I say this with all due respect to our Border Patrol folks, is that they spend so much time just taking care of people who come here illegally. They can't stop the bad people, the smugglers, the drug smugglers, the human traffickers. And when you're
Why not?
devoting as much time as they are to taking care and supervising and trying to keep safe all those people who are sitting in these facilities down here, it really is a sad day.
Why are those people the people who go after the human traffickers and the smugglers? One would think that if you had a functioning system, the caseworkers and people who work in those facilities aren't on like a friggin' tour shift of the Rio Grande on their during lunch.
We need a change in our policy. I am grateful to the Border Patrol for the just the tremendous job that they do. I'm sure
After he just said they can't do their job.
it seems like a very thankless job even on a good day, and there aren't many good days when you have thousands of people coming across the border.
Crumbing across the border.
But we appreciate their work. They're trying to keep our country safe and secure. We need to help them by putting good policies in place and getting away from these failed policies that have been implemented by the Biden administration and that are leading to this crisis on our border. Thanks.
As a mate, now it's time for Chuck Grassley to come up here and tell them about life down on the Rio Grande.
We learned from the Border Patrol
That if you spit roast a hog you can season meat with gunpowder. I didn't know that.
That they were asked a long time before the inauguration of the new president their advice on how to handle situations at the borders.
Uh-huh.
We're told that they were advised more than once not to change the Remain in Mexico policy.
Yeah, especially when it comes to unaccompanied children. Because the Trump administration and Stephen Miller and a lot of the CBP people, they were really convinced that, the best thing that could happen is that unaccompanied children just stay in tent cities being abused for as long as possible, so that if they ever do get asylum or their case considered, they've had a good, 3-4 years of solid abuse, so that it's harder and harder for them to deal with the psychological impact of that if they do indeed become citizens or return home to their own countries full of anger and soul destruction. But tell us, I'm sorry, I interrupted your Christian stuff.
They didn't take that advice, so we have a crisis at the border.
So it wasn't a crisis at the border when there were 8,000 unaccompanied minors dumped on the Mexican side by the Trump administration. That wasn't a crisis. I'm just clarifying. I want to know what we got to, define crisis. It helps in communication, I think, that when you break these two things down, that if indeed you have 8,000, and by the way, has anybody noticed the number of children at these facilities has been ticking down enormously? It was 9,200, then it was 8,000, now it's 5,600. It's almost like they're actually doing their job. It's almost like the administration is stiff-arming these assholes in the media so that they can actually process the children and get them where they're going, get them in Health and Human Services, or get them with vetted families or with NGOs or the like.
Because this administration wouldn't listen to the people that had tens and tens and tens of years of experience.
Tens and tens and tens of years of experience. That means they've been doing this since the mid-90s.
With the problems here at the border. So this crisis is because this administration would not listen to good advice.
No, they would not. And the advice we gave them was, if you find a toddler, chuck them back into the Rio Grande where they came from. They're never going to learn how to swim if you don't.
And it's become a national security problem, a law enforcement.
Yeah, it's really bad. Like, I don't know if you noticed, like, these kids are packing milk in that bottle. Bullshit. Probably ricin. They probably get these little kids and they give them a little bit of ricin every single day so they can just drink that stuff. By the time they come here, completely immune to it. They're just carrying giant bottles of ricin.
Law enforcement problem, a humanitarian problem, and a lot of other things as well.
Yeah, dogitarian, catitarian, vegetarian problem.
And yet,
pescatarian problem. I saw one of these Mexicans come up with just a fish flapping in his mouth. I was like, does he think he's Japanese? What in the world?
They want an immigration bill passed.
Yeah.
How can you pass an immigration bill when you have an open border?
We don't have an open border. They literally said it in English and in Spanish. The vast majority of people are being turned away. They're dealing with the children. A lot of what would help to secure the border and deal with this issue on a bigger scale, of course, would be in the immigration bill. But what?
If they want to accomplish anything on immigration and I want to help them, it would be secure the border.
Well, yeah, that's in the bill.
You got to stop the bleeding before you can take care of the problem.
I thought the bleeding was the problem. The bleeding isn't the problem. Okay, it's good. Probably the sores.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Oh boy. I should have never asked to see the manager.
John Barrasso, senator from the state of Wyoming.
Many of you know that we're a border state. I think we border, is it Canada? I don't know. It's the country where most of the hijackers came through, and of course a bunch of the people, the Iranians that have been caught sneaking into the country did indeed come back from the...
We came here for a number of reasons. Number one, we wanted to
posture and get on the news, and we recognized that the story was slipping away from us, and everybody was recognizing it wasn't really a threat on the level we were saying.
Thank the Border Patrol for the job they do every day and
every day protecting Wyoming from the people in the Dakotas.
Every night. We met with them last night.
And there was barely 3 inches of distance between them.
Went on midnight patrol with them.
Isn't it romantic? The games we used to play.
They told us their job got a lot harder on January.
When they actually had to do it, instead of just people being stiff-armed in asylum seekers and children.
January 20th, the day that Joe Biden became president of the
I bet.
United States.
No, it's terrible. I bet you, guess what? I bet you their job technically gets harder January 20th every goddamn year, doesn't it? That's right.
As we were with
seasonal work in a lot of ways.
With them last night in the darkness across.
Well, it wasn't completely dark. I mean, it was candlelight.
Across the river, we could see the traffickers and the coyotes and the smugglers on the other side of the river with their bright lights, almost as bright as that television light right there.
Oh my goodness.
And they were taunting our border agents.
Oh my gosh. What were they saying to our border agents?
Saying, you cannot stop us now.
In English? Are you sure they were just not singing? And we can build this world together, never cross the river, nothing's gonna stop us now. Sorry,
That's what our agents are up against as a result.
They're up against mad tauntings in the middle of the night. You're out there just trying to do your job keeping children out of the country, and there's feverish tauntings going on. And the back, I don't even know it anymore. I wake up in the middle of the night with that song. And we can build this world together, go across the river, nothing's gonna stop us now.
Result of the policies of the Biden administration.
Ugh. Were they yelling at? You can't stop us now because of the policies of the Biden administration.
Today
were they yelling that too, or did you just have to infer that from the script? Does anybody speak Spanish? I swear to God he said Biden. Sir, that was a coyote. These people are terrible. No, an actual. That's not a person. Oh, that sounded like Spanish. I don't know. It all sounds foreign to me.
Today we went to the Donna facility.
Oh, all right.
And what we saw were young people crammed in like sardines.
Yeah. Not 3 inches distance between them, wrapped in tinfoil like leftovers, squunched together, except of course the kids that were playing in the playpen, which of course was obviously a tinfoil playpen that was full of toxic metals and stuff. But I'm glad you tell me again how you give a shit. Please dovetail this conversation into why don't we have universal pre-K in this country? Go there.
Something none of us would want for any of our own children.
Well, yeah, I mean, even the people who sent their children don't want that for their own children. It's just, sadly, even that is better than the situation the children were in beforehand. I'll tell you what, you have a choice. You can leave your unaccompanied minor child in a border town in Mexico with no adult supervision, or you can have them in a facility where they have food, clothing, shelter, the language classes, playtime, clean water. Just, you got to flip a coin though. Tell me which you would prefer. I mean, it doesn't have to be 100% one or the other. 60-40, you lean towards shelter and food.
And as we tried and did video what was happening there to share with the country and the world,
well, I mean, it's not our fault you can't operate your phone.
the Biden administration censors tried to stop us.
Oh God. The Biden administration censors. They canceled us like Dr. Zeus.
Yesterday, President Biden held a press conference.
Uh-huh.
And he said that the great majority of families who come here illegally are being sent back.
No, he said the great majority of people who come here illegally are being sent back. 18-year-olds, singles. He said that specifically. I know you're pretending you didn't hear that right now, but the family part of it, they get adjudicated. But if you come here as an individual, male or female, over the age of 18 and you're alone, you get bounced almost immediately. That's because they're dealing with families and minor children, which one would think that, as Christians, you'd think maybe, I don't know, something worth, might be, live up to the standards you have as sort of, what was it, something values. I remember in the 90s, the Republicans used to run on something values. I'll think of it later.
That's not true, and they're either...
Well, yeah, it's not true, not because he said it's not true because you just lied. See, because we all watched it. You see. So, I mean, I know you're not talking to me. You're not talking to us. You're not talking to my chat room who are informed and caring human beings who actually give a shit. You're talking to your own followers who are just looking for every possible reason to believe that, Trump's going to be president again on April 1st.
Either he doesn't know it or won't admit it to the American people. The Border Patrol will tell you it's not true.
Well, that's not what he said. So the Border Patrol would be agreeing with Biden then.
The senators who are here today will tell you it's not true. The men and women in the field will tell you it's not true.
Well, yeah, they wouldn't have to tell us it's not true. We know it's not true because you said it wrong. You don't get to create a lie, project it onto somebody else, and then the rest of us are like, oh my God, they said that wasn't true. Biden must be lying to me.
It's time to let the press
Yeah, Cornyn's got COVID.
in to see what is happening and the
By the way, all these kids are going to test positive for COVID because Cornyn coughed all over them.
tragedy that this administration has brought on to our nation.
And by the way, anybody who doesn't follow me on Twitter, no fruit cup. Honest to God, he looks like a guy who runs a summer camp who, at the end of summer gets arrested and everybody's like, knew it, called it. Yipe. I didn't realize BTK was going to get a chance to speak.
Mike Braun from Indiana.
Big border state. Borders on Ohio. Borders on Illinois. Borders on Louisville.
Hundreds of miles away. We see all this on our own TV sets back
And on some other people's, sometimes in the airport.
home. And there's no substitute for being here.
Yeah, I know. You get to come down there, have some big old barbecue. We're going to head out to El Paso. We smoked some big cigars last night. We were talking to them. Come on.
This was an unforced error on the part of the Biden administration. And when you look at what
It is an error to allow children. Gross.
underpins it, it's a caustic political environment we've got that if one
Sorry, what? A caustic political environment? You mean people are using untoward words and being rude towards each other and immediately dismissing their ideas outright without including them in the or even some people are including people in the discussion under the idea that person legitimately wants to participate in the discussion, and then that person, even though they got what they wanted in, say, a bill or an amendment or an emotion, still doesn't vote for it? That kind of caustic?
one side is doing it and it happens to be going well, the other side wants to undo it. In that moment, I'll take back that I'll never forget is what
Oh, I'll never forget this as well.
Senator Barrasso just talked about.
Oh yeah, please quote him. It was lightning.
To think that you got the brazen statement when we're there, when the Border Patrol is there at midnight, that they're going to keep coming and they're going to get the best of us. That is a sad situation.
Wait, they didn't say. I didn't hear the best of us part. So they're singing Foo Fighters now? That's some serious cartel taunting. Does anybody check with Dave Grohl to see how he feels about this whole thing? And I'm getting the best of you.
And I'm hoping that there's enough political will on the other side of the aisle to do what they should have done in the first place, and that's not to try to fix something that wasn't broken.
Yeah, it wasn't broke. Dude, there was nothing wrong with leaving asylum seekers and unaccompanied minors in Mexico, where, there's plenty of meth to go around.
And go back to what is working. And you can tell just today, in daylight, helicopters, state trooper boats, Border Patrol.
So they're all doing their job. There's lots of them, and the Biden administration hasn't just called everybody back. Because one would think if you had an open border policy, in theory, and follow me on this one. If you were going to have an open border, why would you have helicopters and state trooper boats and people? Why wouldn't you just have a bunch of guys in white jumpsuits with cone lights just going like this as Mexicans just steamrolled across the... He does look like Jack Nicholson's stunt double, it's true.
And there was something that just happened between when we went upriver and back.
What? Something happened? At the border?
That's how tough it is.
Yeah. Guys, it's so tough. Something happened. I don't know what that was, but there was some noise or something. I don't know whatever happened. They caught some people. That job they have? They did it. They all look like mad Muppets. It does look like a spitting image, like outtakes reel.
I'm Dan Sullivan from the great state of Alaska.
Thanks for coming down to the lower 48.
I am literally thousands of miles from home.
It's almost like you just took the flight because you're a Republican and you wanted some warm weather.
But this is important to my state for a whole host of reasons. The number
Okay, tell us.
one thing I've taken out of this trip, and I want to thank Ted Cruz and John Cornyn again, is the President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States need to do what we just did. They need to come down here. They
Why?
need to listen, and they need to learn. Here's what I've learned.
Okay, so you came down here, you listened, and you learned, and now you're going to tell the rest of us what you learned. Tell us what you learned.
We have an upside-down border policy in America.
Well, dude, you're from Alaska. Obviously, your concerns are more like Europeans coming through Canada. And what? We have an upside-down border. So the Mexican kids are trying to get out?
What do I mean?
I don't know.
We have open borders
No, we don't.
on the southern border. There's
No, we don't.
no doubt. And by the way, the people coming in who are released immediately almost, they're not
Almost?
tested at all. Open borders, no testing for COVID. For the southern border, for the
No, that's not true. They're not tested by those people. They're tested at the facilities where they're held. The CBP does not walk around sticking cotton swabs up the noses of every person they come across in the desert. And if they have an open border, again, what the shit are the helicopters about? Why were you in a boat last night? Why, if we have all those people on the border, those Customs and Border Patrol, they're all down there, right? Right? You just rode along with them. You were in a boat with them. And you're saying we have open borders. So Do we have an open border because those people are just letting people through? Because that's not their job.
For the northern border, we have closed borders.
Yeah, but that's because the Canadians are trying to keep our gun nuts out.
My state is facing an economic catastrophe, the great state of Alaska.
Why?
People want to come travel there even after being vaccinated, and we have that border closed.
What? You can go to Canada if you've been vaccinated. Travel what?
What we need is the opposite.
Oh yes, we do. We need to close our border with Canada.
Closed border here for the time being, and an open border on the northern border.
Okay, all right. So they're now the party of open borders. He does realize that all the Iranians that have been caught coming into the United States illegally that were linked to terrorist organizations came via the northern border. He does know that, right? He is aware of that, one would think.
That's what the president and vice president will learn.
When you go tell them, close the Mexico border and open the big white border at the top.
If they come down here like we did and learn from the people.
And go, oh my God, I had no idea. Look at all these brown people. Why don't we just close this border and let all the Canadians in? And of course, anybody that Canada lets in. And they have a more inclusive and diversive immigration policy than we do. So all the, Eastern Europeans and Middle Easterners and that kind of stuff that scare the living shit out of most Republicans can just fly right into Canada, spend a couple days there, and head on down through the porous, open northern border. By the way, tell that to the Wyoming dude. What is he talking about? We don't have an open border on either side. Oh no. I was not prepared for Lindsey Graham. No one ever is, really.
Well, Ted and John, this is the most informative trip I've ever taken in that thing.
Really? This asshole's been overseas on multiple security junkets. How is this the most, what?
A lot. Why are 18 senators here?
Because you guys aren't busy drafting bills and you don't give a rat's ass about, you're trying to avoid talking about guns. You're trying to avoid dealing with the fact that you lost the American Rescue Act fight and hide from the fact that you basically tried to stiff arm relief for the entire economy and every voter in the country. And I think you're just hiding behind the big scary brown people storyline. That's why you're there.
Because it's the biggest issue facing the country in many ways right now. No,
it isn't. We're still trying to deal with COVID. We have huge numbers of unemployed people. We need to get back to work. We have infrastructure issues that are off the charts and haven't been dealt with for decades. This is even close.
So what have I learned?
Nothing. I think you've come down there for confirmation bias.
New. If the Trump administration had been told something and they did the opposite and it blew up in their face, everybody would be asking the Trump administration, what did you know and when did you know it? Well,
no, it didn't. The problem was it wasn't that it blew up in their face. It's that they let it blow up in the face of innocent people, which would be, if you were Christian, I don't know, might bother you.
I'm going to help you here with your reporting.
Oh, great, thanks. Thanks, Linz.
Mr. Hastings, who's a 2-star Border Patrol leader.
A 2-star Border Patrol leader. By the way, remember that little moment when somebody tells you that when Biden, goes up like everybody does on the name of somebody that's in the cabinet or something occasionally, that's indicative of dementia, but somebody that Lindsey Graham just met and has notes about right in front of him and was talking to apparently and thinks is the most important issue in the entire country right now. He He's big. He's got two things on his collar. I remember that part.
Told us that he briefed transition members of the Biden administration as to what would happen if you do away with the Remain in Mexico policy.
And he also, I suppose, briefed them on if you left it the way it was, the continuing crisis that was happening to unaccompanied minor children at the border on the other side would get worse, I suppose. At what point do we get to the leave children in the desert part?
He told us they briefed the Biden administration what would happen if you changed the Title 42 laws to allow unaccompanied children to come here and not.
They're not allowing them. They're not just saying, yeah, come on. They're dealing with unaccompanied minor children.
Be sent back home. Everything.
And they are being sent home. I mean, even Biden said yesterday, you know, if you have this, they brought up some 9-year-old, and he's like, well, the best case scenario is that he's put on a plane and sent back to his mother.
They said would happen happened. So if you don't do it,
but the difference is that they want to make sure it's actually his mom. And in the Trump administration, when they got a large swath of these kids coming across, they just pushed them out of the country. Yeah, just go die. Go get sexually assaulted. Go get sold. We don't care. We've got a bunch of QAnons who think that we are the great protectors of children, so we don't have to actually give a shit. We can do anything with you guys because they just assume we're protecting children. I have no idea why. You'll have to ask Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein how in the world the QAnons thought that Trump would be the savior of children when he's dumping thousands of them in Mexico, unaccompanied, no linkages, lost a bunch of them, lost over 200 of them in the United States, lost them. We don't know where they are. We don't know what happened to them. Now, and I'm not talking about the ones that are separated from the parents and we're trying to get them back together. We know where those kids are. We just don't know who they belong to. Or if those people are even alive to return the children to. And how long it will take us to find that out before we either get these kids adopted or put them with NGOs in the countries that they came from, trying to get them to somebody who knows who their family might be.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to find out who he talked to and memorialize that conversation and hold them accountable.
Yeah, I'm sure they're shaking in their boots, Linz.
Because they knew, and when they say this is Trump problem, they're lying.
No, they're materially correct.
This is a problem of their own making.
Well, I mean, if you consider, caring that children don't get sold to the highest bidder in a cartel town because the United States government just dumps them, finds them over here, looks at them for about a day and a half, and then dumps them over there, hundreds of miles away from wherever they were picked up because who gives a shit, then yeah, I would say this is a problem of the Biden administration's own makings. I blame the Catholic Church because clearly, as he was brought up Catholic, he has this weird notion about how children should be treated well.
What else have I learned? That Joe Biden, the president, made the problem worse yesterday.
Did he? Because there were 18 of you guys down there and you didn't make it better.
This was a nightmare press conference. He told everybody, don't worry, we've got crowded facilities. We're going to build 5,000 more beds in Texas at a military base. So how does...
They're going to build 5,000 more beds at a military base. Is that what he said?
How does that play in Central America? They're going to expand the number of people they can take.
How does that play in Central America? Okay, so Biden's talking about how you deal with an influx of children. And Lindsey Graham is saying if you don't treat these kids like shit and endanger their lives and keep them in the situation, by the way, that Ted Cruz said was awful, if you don't keep them in that awful situation, then it's basically like ringing the dinner bell for Central Americans. Christ.
He said when a child has a phone number on their wrist, we're going to call the family member and unite that family.
Well, no, but he also said we got to make sure that it's really them and it's not that they've been sold as an indentured servant to that family So they don't just have the number like, this is the family you're being delivered to, and you'll have to live with them for a while and do all their housework, or they'll dump you back in Juarez. There's kind of a process.
This is uniting illegal immigration.
No. Apparently, somebody's getting adjudicated for asylum if they were separated from their child. You put that child with their parent while they're awaiting their asylum case. So, I'm sorry. I guess the biggest part I have to deal with in this, and I think maybe you guys in the chat, is this striking you the same way? What's the alternative here? Kid's got a number on his arm that belongs to a mom that's in the States. And she's already here, either in the legal system or something. And instead of finding that child who got separated from her somehow, instead of placing that child with her, we leave the woman here and dump the kid, or reunite her with the kid, and just immediately, because her kid was separated from her by either no fault of her own or an attempt to save the child's life if she didn't make it herself, we dump them back in Mexico. Or God forbid, if that child has a relative here that's legit and they could sponsor that child because it's a minor child, that they would be allowed to. This is just fucking gross. Thank you, Hal Vickery. Oh my gosh, your mom's 102nd birthday would have been today. That's incredible. I would have loved her as well, Hal Vickery, if only just because she liked the name Hal.
The last thing I learned is that we're complicit as a nation in human trafficking.
Oh, all right. So the last thing you learned is that we as a nation are complicit in human trafficking. Because you 18 senators went down there and tried to make it easier for human traffickers, or just because Trump and Epstein and Maxwell and Dershowitz and that whole crowd are your heroes?
What did we learn last night?
Nothing.
There's a trail on our side of the border with markers placed by the federal government to show illegal immigrants where to go. That we're transporting people who pay to get here the last mile with your taxpayer dollar.
Because we keep finding dead people, and if we create a path and they follow it, we know where they are and we can catch them easier. I'm guessing breadcrumbs didn't work for long because of the birds.
It's costing about $800 a day per child.
Yeah. You know how much cheaper it would have been to just abort them all? I mean, why can't we just gather up all the women who are waiting on the Mexican side of the border, and the men too, and just, like dust them with some sort of knockout gas, and then give everybody a vase and tubes, get every woman's tubes tied. Right, Linz?
If we don't change the pull factors.
The pull factors.
Go back to the Remain in Mexico policy where they can't.
You really want to say pull factor in front of Ted after he was talking about the kids laying next to each other and the nursing moms?
Apply for asylum here, send the unaccompanied minor children back to their home country.
Well, that's what we are doing, but we got to make sure they go to actual families instead of just, we don't dump minor children in the streets of
There will be 250,000 people a month coming. The Border Patrol...
No, they won't, because they come in waves when the weather's better. They don't come during the months where you could just die.
Said there is no end to this.
There is an end to this, but it requires a comprehensive immigration strategy, and, well, there's no end to it because you guys won't participate.
So, Vice President Harris, this is your job to fix. I promise you I will work with you, but you cannot possibly understand your job unless you come here. The last thing we're going to do is introduce a resolution praising the men and women of the Border Patrol and the Customs Department. I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan 56 times.
And he didn't learn shit.
Our soldiers serve in incredibly tough conditions.
But the Border Patrol has to deal with worse.
What we're asking the men and women of the Border Patrol to do is inhumane.
Yes, I agree. You guys are asking the Border Patrol to do things that are inhumane. You mean like because you guys don't want them to hand out water or have a path where they can leave people or deal with asylum seekers or take in unaccompanied minors. And what the Republicans, all 18 of these guys, are suggesting is that if an unaccompanied minor is wandering through the desert across the Mexico-American border and through Texas or whatever, just leave them. Let them cook.
They have to deal with things that I don't know how they make it through the day. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, they had to hang out with you assholes, giving you free hats. I got myself a CBP hat.
How their families stay together.
I don't know how their families stay together. Well, you don't have a family. I don't even know that you could process it.
So we owe it to them. Finally, the president said, I'm not going to apologize to anybody about my policies. Mr. President, you need to apologize to those whose job it is to secure the country for making their job impossible.
I'm sorry, is their job stacking children like cordwood and lighting them on fire like a pile of Jawas?
And most importantly, you need to change.
Could you please change into Donald Trump? I don't understand. Why can't you be Trump? I don't understand it. Where there was this island of happiness when Trump was in office. First there's this, I don't know. First there's this Clinton guy, 8 years, and then Bush gets in there. He's like a Republican, and he just shits the economy bloody, and leaves us, and he's from Texas, and I'm not. And then a black guy, and then it was okay for like 3.5 years of Trump, and then it was awful. And now it's Biden. Why can't you change your damn? Why can't you be orange?
I'd like to follow Lindsay and tell you.
Another Canadian border expert.
What I learned, first of all, that those signs that he was talking about was a big old yellow arrow. I called it the Biden arrow.
Yeah, it's been there for a long time though. Why'd you call it the Biden arrow if they always have those? Did they just start putting them? So was there a directive from the Biden administration to put that arrow there, or did the CBP do that a while back?
Showing illegal immigrants how to come into this country. But I've been down the border a number of...
How not to fall off a cliff in the middle of the night, how not to die in the desert. Better to deal with a living human being than watch a man and his daughter laying face down in a river. What would you rather? Ron, what would you rather do?
Number of times during multiple...
By the way, a bunch of these assholes are the group that went to Russia for the 4th of July, 2018. Ron was one of them.
Surges, 2015, 2018, 2019. Back in 2018, 2019, the big issue was we didn't have the facilities. We were overwhelmed, and so we couldn't follow the law and release unaccompanied children into the hands of HHS within 72 hours. It was taking 7 days, sometimes 10 days, and that was a big issue.
Uh-huh.
And we were all wondering, how could we solve that problem?
And we went, hey, what if we just don't let the children in? What if we take a child that we get and say, crossing the border near Tijuana, San Diego, and we take him, I don't know, where are we going to put this kid? Fuck it. Drop him in Juarez. Drop him across the border in Texas. They all look alike. They'll find their way home. They're like dogs that get lost.
What I found out last night, that's not a problem right now, because the Biden administration has set a goal for Customs and Border Patrol to process and release people in an 8-hour time frame. 8 hours. That's not even a speed bump.
With families, to get the families processed. Yeah.
It's a go slow zone.
That's because individuals, and by the way, if you're processed in 8 hours, again, this is the part that Ron doesn't want you to know. The people who are processed in 8 hours are the single people who are turned back. Within 8 hours, you're in. Where are you going? Where'd you come from? Nope. Bye. And you get kicked out. You're a grown person. Fuck off. That's what he's talking about. That's the 8 hours. Families take longer. That's why, because if it was 8 hours, how would Ted Cruz have seen all these women nursing? The chance that he came by just at feeding time when they were going to be gone in 4 more hours.
On a path to illegal entry into this country.
No. Process doesn't mean you get in.
And it's facilitating untold inhumanity. I came here a little bit late. I don't know that anybody mentioned the fact that we had to slow down because there was a dead body in the water.
Yeah, I mean, and if your policies were carried out, there would be more of those.
Just upstream here.
Right. So I'm guessing it didn't take 8 hours to process them, probably a couple days.
There's nothing humane about that treatment.
What treatment? That person didn't make it. What do you think this? Are you saying the Customs and Border Patrol caught that person coming across the border and drowned them? What the fuck are you talking about?
Nothing whatsoever.
That's not treatment. That's not a treatment. That's a circumstance.
My final point is because...
Final point, you haven't had one yet.
Vice President Harris served on my committee. I saw how she asked questions of federal law enforcement, these people that we do need to thank, and thank their families for their service and sacrifice.
I'm sorry, was she asking that of just rando cops? Did she just walk up to cops and start interrogating them? Or was she talking to people who were specifically sitting there that were dealing with both the budgetary and the actions of those particular law enforcement agencies writ large?
She was never interested in securing the border. Instead,
no, she wasn't. Not at all. She just straight up, just everybody through.
Instead, what she did is she actually compared a federal law enforcement agency, ICE, to the Ku Klux Klan.
Well, yeah, in certain states they were gathering people up just because they looked brown. They were literally. I mean, look at the Arizona Papers issue. There's a long history of that just scooping up Americans of Mexican descent, and literally we've had multiple cases where they've been processed and kicked out of the country, and they're citizens.
Now that is the person President Biden has put in charge of solving this problem. How can you do that when you have to rely on the brave men and women of federal law enforcement? You're putting in charge of the effort, somebody who has compared your efforts to...
No, the Customs and Border Patrol and ICE aren't the same thing. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement are in-country organizations. They round people up. They catch people inside the country. Border Patrol deals with the border. This is goofy.
To the Ku Klux Klan?
Yeah, I mean, I know you think that's a compliment, Ron, but
I just don't get it. This.
Well, I know you don't get it because you take two ideas that are unrelated, you stitch them together in your head, and you go, "That looks a little sloppy."
This is so sad coming down here. Before I came down, somebody asked me, what do you expect to see? I said I expect to experience deja vu. I did to a certain extent, but I saw something far, far worse. This is sad.
Dudes, and again, they're in the background just coughing all over the place. Do they all have COVID?
This is depressing. This didn't have to happen.
Right. We could have just had a river full of dead bodies. This would be so much easier. Let Mexico fish the corpses out of the water.
It's a self-inflicted wound on our nation, and I just do not believe the Biden administration is up to the task of fixing it unless they completely change stripes here.
if they completely change stripes, what are they? Okay, completely. So they're taking these kids in, they're educating them, they're feeding them, they're giving them a hygiene bag and some fresh clothes, and they're giving them a blanket, and then they're processing them through as fast as they can to either get them with NGOs or with sponsors or with their actual family members. So to completely turn that around and go back to, I guess, the Trump administration's plan, which is dump children alone in the desert. That's what Ron Johnson is asking for.
This is sad. This is a tragedy.
Yes, it's a tragedy that this serious issue, which is always ongoing, is being handled and discussed by this ragtag group of dipshits.
There's a word for what's happening at our border. It's
what's a word? There's a word for what's happening at our border. Business as usual?
Insanity.
That's a phrase. Insanity. Yes, this is true. Anybody who goes anywhere that Ted Cruz invites them to is insane.
Every day, thousands of migrants are racing towards our border.
That's insane. Why would anybody want to come here? This place sucks. Right, Tom Cotton? What argument are you making? Why is it insane to want to come to the United States?
Yet those migrants are not running away from Border Patrol officers. They're running to the Border Patrol officers.
Yes. Can you imagine how shitty your country must be where you will run towards the law enforcement of another country hoping you can get, oh, I don't know, your asylum case adjudicated and get to stay?
Because they know, and their smugglers and their traffickers know, that they can game our asylum system. They can be released into the country in a matter of days, sometimes a matter of hours, and they will never have to go back to their home country.
No. I think the Obama administration proved that. I mean, we'll let that stand. We've talked about that before.
Meanwhile, the brave men and women of our Border Patrol who signed up to be law enforcement officers are compelled to be social workers, babysitters.
Babysitters? Yeah. They shouldn't be babysitting. They should be sitting on these babies. That's right. They come in and just suffocate them as they come across. That'll teach them.
And cafeteria workers.
You would have to be insane to rush towards someone who's going to suffocate you.
The madness needs to stop. And there's
it's crazy. It's madness.
only one way to stop it. It's for
There's only one way to stop it. Napalm?
Joe Biden to say, do not leave your home.
Yeah, he did that.
Do not come to our country.
Yeah, they did that too.
If you do, you will not get in.
They've said the border is closed, yeah.
And we will send you home.
Yeah, that's what they've said.
And until Joe Biden says that,
he said it yesterday.
The madness will continue.
Your madness will continue, but he already said that. So obviously the madness, we stopped the madness.
Hardworking taxpayers will be forced to spend billions on this crisis.
Yeah, it would be so much cheaper just to hand out my pillows and let them suffocate everybody.
Drugs will continue to flow into our country and devastate American families.
Yeah, you don't think those are real toddlers, do you? Those are, those cakes that look like an artichoke or look like a toaster, and you're like, oh my God, it's a cake. It's incredible. I didn't even know it looked like I thought it was a rat, and it turns out it's a cake. That's what the children are crossing the border. They're actually, there is a layer of marzipan that makes them look like a real human, but inside, 100% meth.
Our borders will be wide open to potential terrorists.
Oh, you mean the northern border, like the dude from Alaska wants?
Madness has to stop.
Stop the madness!
I'm John Hooven from North Dakota.
Hello, John Hooven from North Dakota. And I'll have you know that while I was down here, I struck gold. And someone jumped my claim.
What a difference between the northern border and the southern border. I want to thank...
Yeah. Yes. All of the Iranians that have been abducted trying to get into the country as terrorists have all come over the northern border.
Thank John and Ted for bringing us down here. There's 18...
It was great, and the barbecue is fantastic.
Senators here.
That was the best sloppy Joe I ever had. Right, Joe? I'm sorry, I'll clean next time. I wasn't expecting company.
And what we're trying to accomplish is
Lots of dead kids. You know, just warn them. I think we should basically just put the kids on spikes at the border, and that'll scare off everybody. You need human scarecrows. That'll be the only thing that does it.
We want the American people to understand what's going on here. We just want the American people to understand what's going on here, because if they do, they'll say, no, this has to stop right now.
Yeah, if they knew how brown these people were.
You have to change this right now.
Right now. Stop these. They're so brown. What are you doing? Well, we're taking in the children that don't have any adults with them and making sure that they don't get handed over to, you know, human traffickers or anything like that, and try to find out where they're from, who their parents are, all that kind of stuff. It takes time. And then we're turning away all the single adults, and then families that come across that are asking for asylum, we're processing their claims, and we're placing them with non-governmental organizations, churches, other groups that will monitor them while they're here, and if they show up for their asylum hearings and go through the process, there's a very strong possibility they could live here under, you know, the asylum laws until they either it's safe to return to their own country or they become citizens. So we don't, you know, kind of, I don't know, relive the horror of you know, Jews circa World War II. You know, we don't want to kind of create a Rwanda-like situation where we're not letting people in who are trying to escape that violence, you know, but they're brown.
As we said, we just came by a dead body in the water, just coming back.
Yeah, and he was chucked in there, but, you know, that was just one of Ted's female aides.
To this press conference. Last night when we landed...
It's true. Saw a dead body. Yeah.
We went with the Border Patrol out and saw where the migrants are coming across the river.
And only one of them drowned. I don't understand. The weird thing is that every time I start talking, people go, Muppets, and I go, quit it.
Coming up trails, and they're being, in essence, processed under a bridge. Is that how we do things in America now? We have people streaming in illegally, children.
Children? Ew.
Women and children.
Women and children. They're being processed under a bridge by a troll and two billy goats.
We just let them come in.
Uh-huh.
And we process them under a bridge in the middle.
And then what?
Of the night. And we won't let the American people see it. We won't let senators take a picture of it.
I'm sorry, the processing under a bridge as they're, you mean when they're being rounded up? What do you mean they're put in a facility?
Is that how we do things in America now?
Oh, golly.
You see, I think if the American people understand what's going on, they're going to say no.
No way, eh? No. Look how brown.
Change this right now.
No, do it.
And that's what this is about. Today, we go to the Donna Processing Center.
Uh-huh. Is that under a bridge?
It's a tent. It's a big tent. How many of you been in there?
Well, Democrats are a big tent party.
I guess not, right? Well, we're in there today. And why aren't you in there? What?
Because it's a government facility, and we don't want terrorist organizations and the like to figure out how to game the system by knowing what it's like before they get in there, because of video that they could just watch and prep for before they even fly over here, I guess.
What's going on? It's a big tent with COVID protocols. They're supposed to have a maximum of 250 people in there.
Uh-huh.
250 with COVID protocols.
Uh-huh.
Without COVID protocols, a maximum of 1,000 people. How many are in there today? 4,200. And in this sector alone, 3,000 people a day are coming across every single day.
Yeah, it's a processing center. They don't stay there.
We asked the Customs and Border Protection, the Border Patrol professionals, what do you need to stop this so you can get on top of it?
And they said, flamethrowers.
You can do your job. What has to happen? What's the number 1 and 2 things? They said, look,
we need kerosene, and I need wooden stakes.
And what's
wooden stakes? Yeah, most of these people are Mexican vampires. You haven't seen From Dusk Till Dawn? Criminy.
The number 1 and 2 things. They said, look
here. Can you really?
If you reinstate the Remain in Mexico and the safe third country approaches.
Yeah, which is safe, by the way, for us, not for them, not for the children or the the women, the nursing women that Ted Cruz likes to watch.
We can get on top of this right now.
Yeah, we could get right on top of those young mothers. What?
That's what.
We're not on top of it. That's not being on top of it. That is not being on. That is abdicating responsibility, and putting those people off on states with fewer resources and endangering their lives, and not processing them and sending them back. The Mexican government's not going to do that. They're just going to end up being trafficked.
That's what needs to happen, and that needs to happen right now.
If my name isn't Oscar the Otter.
And then, as Senator Grassley said, and others have said, then let's figure out how we do address immigration in an intelligent.
Yeah. What we got to do is end all illegal crossings at the border. Then we'll talk about comprehensive immigration reform.
And a humane way. But it starts with the American people understanding what's going on right now and us
Oh, I gotta know. Come on.
changing it.
Oh, terrible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cindy Hyde-Smith from
Hi, Cindy Hyde-Smith.
Mississippi, and the men you see behind me
We have been, I see these guys every time in my Q group on Facebook.
they're here to help us solve a problem. I'm here to help us solve a problem.
Yeah, how do you solve a problem like Maria? She's a Mexican woman with a baby.
We have talked to these border patrols, and they have told us how
They've talked to the border patrols.
overwhelmed they are, how overcapacitated they are.
Mm-hmm.
These guys have a hard job, and they were just beginning to get a little relief before these policies changed.
Terrible. It was almost like they were just getting the hang of the down season where it's too cold to come across, and then in between that time when it's too hot to come across, and there's that window, and it's almost like we're exactly in that pocket.
They were just about to be able to say we've got a handle on most of this.
Yeah, it was almost, guys, the border was almost solved.
Just before these policies changed.
I'm
a mother.
Just like Lindsey Graham.
I have a
and Matt Getz.
daughter. And after visiting where these kids are being kept that are close to my daughter's age, the stories we are hearing are beyond horrifying. That's
Right. So what's the alternative? Leave them in Mexico?
happening to these young girls. We have a job to do. We've got
Right. Yeah, and your complaint seems to be that someone's actually doing that job.
to go back to D.C. Not only do we have to save this border, we've got to save this country.
From these young girls. What the fuck are they drawing from this? All right. I mean, they're all going to talk about the same shit again and again. And there's so much to get to. I wish I had time for it. This is real quick. They're going to come pick me up to go to the club in a few minutes.
Well, a Pennsylvania lawmaker.
By the way, Alameda Comedy Club, AlamidaComedy.com is the website. So if you want to, there's links to watch the shows and stuff this weekend. It should be a good time. Yeah, I am wearing merch this week. It's because it's just what I had clean for the trip. This is what happens when it spends so. Aw, thank you so much. Somebody. Oh, did the alert box not show up, or did I just miss it? What happened? Oh, I know what happened. The alert box is behind. It should be above the thing. There you go. That's why I'm not seeing it. Sorry, I put up a new panel for the picture to put me in this box and that over in that box, and the alert box thing was behind it. Sorry. Thank you. GOP. This is called GOP rep introduces Grinch Act to protect books from cancel culture. Protecting free speech from free speech, I guess.
Lawmaker is working to protect children's access to what he calls historic books, including titles by Dr. Seuss.
Historic books, like This one and what Tom Sawyer taught in schools and stuff. You can still buy all these, by the way.
That have been targeted by cancel culture.
Have they? I don't think these were targeted by cancel culture at all.
He's introducing the Grinch Act to cut off government funding for agencies that censor books, he says.
Agencies that censor books. What agencies are those?
As we have seen time and time again, the woke horde will target just about anyone, even Dr. Seuss. We must not allow the left to wage further attacks on students' First Amendment rights.
Students' First Amendment rights? I'm sorry, the Dr. Seuss group publishes their own books. They have the right to publish what they want and not what they want.
Congressman John Joyce joins us now. What kind of reaction have you had to this bill being introduced?
Well, you wouldn't believe how many people think I'm an absolute asshat.
Dana, good morning. The reaction has been so positive.
Yeah.
You and I realize that the cancel culture is rapidly attacking our American institutions.
We do? Well, I'm sorry, what is the institution of 6 of, 30 Dr. Seuss books?
Our libraries, our school. And
our libraries? Sorry, did they rip Mein Kampf out of your kid's elementary school library again? Sorry, bruh.
Like so many.
You can still get it on Amazon, but then that's money in Bezos' pocket, I guess.
I'm alarmed at the left's attempt to cancel historic books.
Historic books.
Characters.
No. Historic characters. Like, most of these, when they're showing them, you're like, I have a kid and I've never heard of this book.
No one is safe from the woke cult.
No one is safe. No one. They're going to cancel the Bible next. Watch.
Sure.
Okay. You wait till they cancel the Quran. Actually, maybe there's something to this.
So,
Dr. Seuss.
What would your legislation do specifically?
Yeah, what would it do? What would it do that isn't an actual violation of free speech in and of itself?
The Grinch Act would prevent our taxpayers' dollars from supporting states and local governments that ban books.
These books weren't banned. The publisher themselves pulled them.
I'm someone who visits the libraries throughout.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, a lot of child predators hang out where they know kids will be.
Pennsylvania, my district in South Central and Southwestern Pennsylvania. Dana, yesterday, I was in one of those libraries. They
and I was like, oh, I'm not wearing pants.
Took me into the children's section and
they what? Sorry, what? Hold on.
Showed me the Pennsylvania, my district in South Central and Southwestern Pennsylvania. Dana, yesterday, I was in one of those libraries. They took me into the children's section and showed me the shelf full of Dr. Seuss books. If you find that these books are offensive to your children, then
So there were shelves of Dr. Seuss books. They're still there. They weren't pulled from the shelves. They're still there.
Parents should be the ones who make that decision. Government should not be making that.
The government didn't stop these books from being printed at all.
And federal dollars should not support anyone who bans books.
No one is. We're not federal. There are no federal dollars supporting this. What is he talking about?
First Amendment rights, those of our adults and our children, must be defended.
Okay.
From what?
So then,
wait. So does the Grinch Act mean that if he wants me to print a book, I have to print it? Yeah, the left didn't attack Dr. Seuss at all. This is so weird. This was their choice.
Have you had any Democrats agree to sign on to this bill?
No, because it's stupid, and it would be a violation of free speech.
Bill?
I think this is a bill that should be able to reach across the aisle.
Why? I don't even know what the fuck it means.
We have to understand that we cannot turn back and ban great historic people, great historic images that are part of our childhood.
Great historic images that are part of our childhood.
As a child, my father read to me from Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, but he didn't read you these.
I read Dr. Seuss to my children.
So did I. Not those, though.
And now I read it to my granddaughter. There are important lessons in these books.
Right. Many of them very left-leaning. The Lorax comes to mind.
But the parents are the ones who should be guiding the children, not government.
Government didn't ban these books. How stupid is this?
Don't need to be woke.
Woke.
So, what if you hear from parents, right? Because
yeah, what do you hear from parents? Because do parents know that the government didn't ban these books?
It's one thing to maybe not have bipartisan support yet on this, but
on what? No one knows what it is. The Grinch Act isn't an actual thing.
Do you get asked about this issue?
I have a couple of questions. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
By your constituents, by parents that are concerned?
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's lots of people that are just as dumb as I am.
Phones have been ringing.
Who believe that the government, government officials like myself, should be able to write a bill that forces a private organization to publish books that they previously published, even if they don't sell. For the free market.
Ringing.
Really?
In all of our district offices since we introduced this yesterday, people are calling in saying, thank you. Thanks for allowing us to make that decision for our children.
All right. I don't know what the hell that's even supposed to mean.
All right. We'll pay attention to it. It's got a great name.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything, but...
The Grinch Act, right? I think that's pretty...
Yeah, that's pretty great. That's the Grinch Act. That's pretty much that's amazing. I can't believe it's so good. I'm so glad I had you on. You're just fucking dynamite.
I think the Grinch Act, which is an acronym for Guarding Reading Independence and Choice, but it sends a message.
In choice.
To America.
That would be the Griach choice.
My hat's off to your comms director. Very creative, very good. I used to love my job on Capitol Hill. I don't think I ever came up with something like that. Thank you, Congressman.
All right. By the way, just in case you thought that was the dumbest thing you could see all day, I'm going to end on this because I got to go do a show. 6 o'clock tonight and 8 o'clock tonight. Alameda Comedy, if you're in the area. How do I even put that? All right. So this guy Scott McKay, who calls himself Patriot Street Fighter, and he has a round table. This is Crystal Tinney. This guy's Dave Rodriguez. And this guy calls himself Prime Minister, Pryme. These guys are all neo-Christians who believe that Trump is still president and all that kind of stuff. I just want to... This is an hour and 45 minutes long, this video. It's just a round table. It's all it's called, it's a round table. So this shows up in my feed because of, the Roseanne videos and the Christine W. and all this stuff. And again, should this be a big deal here and there? I don't know. It's got 54,000 views. And this guy's he reposts this. This is from, they're on Rumble, which is where they really post stuff. They post it everywhere. So they have multiple accounts. So there's probably, over 24 areas where this video is posted. So it's got 54,000 plus views on this site alone. Right? So just a little taste of, just in case you thought this shit was subsiding anytime soon.
Facebook, were you talking to your family? Did you get pushback? What happened there?
Well, I used to make these videos ranting and in my car. But that's back when I used to drink the Dunkin' Donuts and I was killing myself. I was drinking that and but I would make these videos and then I would not make a video for 3 or 4 days and then people would be emailing me and saying, hey, where you been? I want to know what happened about this. What do you think about that?
He's talking about Trump winning the election, actually, and election fraud and the cabal. And these guys all view themselves as like the front line against the pedivore crowd, the baby eaters. That they really think that Trump is the superhero fighting this. Just to catch you up. They and don't think for a second that like the bros with their hats on backwards are the main dumbasses. Both the other two guests are just as my dad would say, just as ate up with the dumbass as the rest of these people.
And so then I started making them more, and then so that's just ultimately what happened. And then at some point in time, I realized that this was literally consuming every second, and it was becoming life, and I had to really make some serious decisions and get married to the movement, so to speak.
So it was ruining his life and eating up every second of his day. So he decided, well, I'm go all in. It's not like I have friends.
I'll tell you, we all are, aren't we? We are married to this movement, 100%. Everybody's all in. Anyway, so what do you guys want to talk about tonight? You want to talk about? I know Dave. I haven't heard anything from you, but I've heard. Hey, Scott, Dave's hearing some really tough stuff, And
yeah, Dave's hearing some wild stuff about what's going to happen with Trump in the election. Give it to him, Dave. To brighten their day.
And it might not be what people want to hear.
Oh yeah, it's what I'm sorry, Dave, it's not all good news. You're under the impression that Trump isn't actually going to be president 3 days ago, and then 3 weeks ago, and then 2 weeks before that, and then 2 weeks before that. Weird.
I'm sick and tired of it, man. I'm trying to
it's a bummer.
get to the bottom of this. I think we're all just kind of wondering what the hell's going on with our country.
Yeah, what's going on? How is Trump not president? I mean, the dude's magic. Look at him. He's like the Ubermensch. We've never had a fitter, more healthy president than him. He's obviously he's got a command of the English language that rivals most ETL speakers.
Trust the plan, this, that, nobody knows which way to go. It's a very confusing time. So I'm like,
yeah,
man, I'm getting to the bottom of this. And
figure it out for us, man. Have some coffee, by the way.
Scored that interview with McInerney. And I just asked him point blank, I talked to 107. I talked to him on the phone. I do interviews I just finished an interview with him this morning.
By the way, 107's the dude who shows his cowboy boots and is completely full of shit and won't show his face and is now selling a coffee table book to make money off of his Q connections and apparently drives, and I quote, $1 million cars. That this guy, the guy in the orange shirt, I think is the guy who threatened to slash his tires if he was wrong again, which he has been.
Trying to figure out what the hell's really going on. And
I know. You're all assholes.
I've come to my own conclusion. I mean, General McInerney basically said, hey man, he doesn't believe there's a plan. From what he's seeing in the military, it's chaotic. The things they're doing to this country is he doesn't believe anybody's in charge. He believes the CCP's in charge, or the deep state, but he doesn't subscribe to the idea that Trump is spearheading this and he's in charge.
What? He doesn't think Trump is actually running the military from Mar-a-Lago? Then he calls himself a patriot? What kind of bullshit is this?
So I had to go and now I'm going to disclaimer right here. I don't believe that.
You believe you don't believe that?
So I'm disagreeing with the general, only because
what?
The things I see don't look right. Washington D.C. being, fenced off. It's a prison.
It's a prison. Oh, wait.
And it's dark every night.
Right.
The Democrats have been
night tends to be dark. I don't know if you guys have noticed that.
Really quiet, except for Pelosi and where is everybody? Where is everybody? And
they're working. They're in their buildings. They're doing shit. They're sleeping, especially at night.
Not to mention, I'm following certain arrests that are happening, certain people that are getting taken down in the Democratic Party. I don't know their names off bat, but there's
obviously they're huge names in the Democratic Party that are being arrested and taken to Guantanamo and being executed by, I guess, General Flynn. But I mean, memorize their names later. I mean, it's not that
There's all kinds of people being taken down for pedophilia charges. So,
like who? It kind of would. If this is your thing in life, wouldn't you have a running list? Seriously, wouldn't you have a running list? Because there's like a running list of Trump campaign people and RNC staffers who've been busted for child porn recently.
All these things are happening, and if you just look at it in black and white, you can see that things are happening. Plus, the people that I talk to within, my little circle,
which I'm sure is just lightning,
that I've been honored to be a part of, they say something different than McInerney, and there is.
You think?
A firewall. There is some kind of firewall where people are privy to the information, and some people aren't. Now, you got to remember, General McInerney is still involved somewhat with the military, but and I'm not discrediting this guy, so please.
Yes, you are.
People don't take.
You're calling bullshit on what he says, even though he's a real general, because your friends who are Qs think there's something that's going to happen that isn't.
That way. I just feel that.
I prefer Kat Kerr. I know. At least she's entertaining in her bullshit. Wait, because this isn't even the good
firewall
part.
of information, and
wait till that guy starts talking.
He may be on the outer circle out of it.
Because this dude is bumming everybody out. But don't worry about it. Prime Minister is going to he's going to bring it all home.
Of it right now due to him being, 85. He's kind of out of the loop of things. Not discrediting him.
Just saying he's too old to be Q.
I'm just saying that I'm looking at all angles of this. And I do believe that there are good people doing big things. Like Juan always says. Big doors swing on small hinges. And I believe that. And I think that's where we're at. Now,
Jesus.
The timetable, when is this stuff going to happen, this and that? It's already happening. If you look, you can see. What's the name of that country? Myanmar? What is it?
I think it's Myanmar, I think.
Oh, fucking hell. What's that? It's already happened in a big way. In this, there's a bunch of Democrats that are being arrested, like huge names where they're being, I don't know who they are, but, they're being busted all over the place. And then, of course, what's that? I mean, there's a great example of how I'm right. It's that country. How do you pronounce it?
I think I say
Myanmar.
Myanmar.
Well, anyway, that country.
Yeah, whatever. That Myanmar.
They've overthrown the government by the military, and they're giving back the country to the people, okay?
No. This is just another... Go watch the second to last Rambo movie. The first 10 minutes will give you a really good, cliff notes of the civil war that's been going on in Myanmar/Burma for decades.
Okay. To me,
and these dudes would love that Rambo movie. I'm shocked they haven't seen it. It's about Christian missionaries who go in there trying to help everybody and end up, almost getting murdered.
And I've asked Juan about this, and he said, "Yeah, you're right, Dave."
Yeah, because that's Juan O'Savin's business model is nod anytime somebody says I think this crazy shit is happening. Totally, that's exactly right. You're totally right. I knew I was right. Thanks, Juan.
It's a beta test. It's a test. They're doing this country now has.
Yeah, we always test out our governmental policies and our giant shifts in the social architecture of America on Myanmar.
Successfully had the military take control. And
yeah, it's all better now. I don't know if you know, but it's just like, it's kick-ass over there. Almost everybody has a machine gun. Sweet.
They're giving back the government to the people because of a fraudulent 2020 election. Think about that.
Yeah, I'm totally thinking about it. I think you're an asshole.
Big things are coming, in my opinion. I think that I think this is going to get worse. I think that the border crisis is out of control. I'm right here on the border. But it's going to get even more out of control. I think they're going for our guns. This is a near-death experience. That's where we're at with this. Now, if I'm wrong, then it's just a death experience. I'm good with God, as far as I know.
I would be slightly concerned if I were you.
Maybe not. I don't know. There might be a special place up there or down there. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, if I'm wrong, guess what, folks? We're all fucked.
So Crystal, what are you hearing out there today?
Tell us, Crystal. Come on, this is depressing.
What are you thinking? What's on your
Tell us.
Mind about what you're seeing?
I'm sure you guys have seen the press conference today.
No,
I missed it. I heard it was.
I can't even watch this, guys.
Right. I can't watch them either. I had to shut it off after 5 minutes, but then you get all the short Cliffs notes that everybody posts and blasts all over social media. And it was nothing short of a disaster, which I'm sure no one is surprised by.
No, it was awful. I mean, it was terrible. Like, it was his suggestion that we can do better and his actual strategies. Get 200 people vaccinated. Clearly, he's just marking people. Like, you might as well just brand people with a 666 on their scalp.
So my whole thing is when is shit going to hit the fan? Because it can't go on for this much longer for this guy to be so incompetent, for him to fall up steps and everything else and just be the laughing stock of the world. this is a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. So either they're going to get him out and put Kamala in, or something else is going to go down. I mean,
something else.
There's no possible way that we were just left with this shit.
It couldn't possibly be that we're wrong and deluded and we've been believing bullshit for so long we can't tell which way is up. It couldn't possibly be that we're wrong and we're dumb and we're gullible. It has to be.
I mean, it's
that the dude who won the election is inferior to the four of us who are, I guess, camping out and selling T-shirts on the internet. All right.
No. That's possible. It is possible.
On purpose.
According, right. So
according to the general, which we don't take seriously, or Juan,
I mean, that's kind of the latest with
whose name isn't Juan, by the way.
Me, and then the whole thing with all these shipping containers, these huge, massive ships that are stuck. Where are they, guys? You guys know where they are. So there's all these.
The Suez Canal. Yeah, it's like the Suez Canal. Like, how do you link this shit into your conspiracy theory and not even know what it's called? You know what I mean? Is it just me, or do you guys yearn for the days of like Capricorn 1 and people fake the moon landing and that the Earth is flat? That these assholes at least would stand at the, Lake Michigan with a laser trying to hit the Sears Tower, and they had like a chart. Can't you guys even Glenn Beck your way through this? If you can't remember the details, get a fucking chalkboard, you dumbasses.
These really strange happenings, and
yeah, you mean life all the fucking time? There's 7.5 billion people on the Earth.
You know that they correlate to.
They don't correlate to shit.
Certain drops and things like that. So
certain drops, meaning Q drops. That's what she's trying to say, and she didn't want to say them out loud because she thought she'd get in trouble.
Like they always say, at what point can you just say that this is no longer coincidence? I think
it's never been coincidence. It's not a no longer thing. It's not actually a coincidence. These are just incidents that are not corresponding in any way. They're just incidents that occur at the same time scale. That's not a coincidence.
I think it was no longer coincidence a long time ago, but what the hell do we know?
Nothing. You're fucking dumbasses. All four of you are the dumbest. I honestly needed to play you guys just because I needed to prove there were people even dumber than Lindsey Graham in the world.
We're just trying to add the puzzle pieces together to complete the whole set. So
yeah, right. You got to collect all 5 or whatever. This is the McDonald's Monopoly game of like conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Prime, tell them what it is, man. Cheer everybody up. Come on, bring it. Wait till you hear this.
Prime, what do you say? What do you think?
Oof.
About what you said.
Well, I'm like this here, so I'm thinking there was a secret inauguration.
All right, a secret inauguration. This is going to be good.
Trump is in power.
There was a secret inauguration. Trump is in power.
There's basically like a dual presidency.
There's 2 presidents at the same time.
Got a fake one, and like that's kind of like a military cover. And
there's a fake one that's just cover for the military.
And you have the real one, and
that would be Trump running things at Mar-a-Lago using golf swings to cue the military, obviously.
There's this big covert war going on.
Totally. Yeah, between Trump and Biden. It's totally covert. It's not just an asshole ex-president writing press releases criticizing the new guy who kicked his ass in an election. It couldn't possibly... Again, these folks with, like, Occam's rubber mallet.
There's a lot of strategic disinformation that's floating around by...
Yeah, by you guys.
Design.
Well, I'm kidding. That's not fair. This isn't strategic at all. It's just rando disinformation.
And I think they're going to flip the switch at a very particular time.
Well, sure, anytime now. Yeah, they're gonna flip the switch.
And I believe, and I do believe that there's a certain part of American, the spirit of revolution that they're trying to invoke by.
That's right. So Trump lost on purpose, is secretly running the government from Mar-a-Lago in a dual presidency, but it's really a big plot to inspire the revolutionary spirit in the American people. Fucking hell, this is dumb. Like, how in the hell?
I think they want to awaken this kind of spirit of revolution. And I feel that that's something that hasn't happened quite yet. And I think
no, probably, yeah, no, it hasn't.
I think they want the American people to be mad. They want us to be sick of it. And
yeah, and then what? Shoot people, storm the Capitol, burn shit down.
I think we're still consenting. We're talking about the vaccines, but we're volunteering. We're going in and, you know, because a lot of people are not waking up, so they're trusting the system still. And
what ridiculous, you know what I mean? Why would people trust the system that's actually kept them alive for decades, where actually life is now kicking death's ass globally compared to what it used to be? I mean, why would you want to trust a system that's been put in place since the Spanish flu, when, you know, death used to just ride like a white horse across the entire world, and now we've got checks on it that we can actually strategically push back against, you know, accidental deaths and contagions. And like, why would you want to participate in a system where we have vaccines and science and behaviors and we all kind of act like we all want to live through a pandemic, when you could go back to a Wild West system when somebody could just get scratched on a rusty nail and die of tetanus in a week?
So I have a lot of mixed views, but I think in a short period of time, it's just going to all kind of happen in one day.
Yeah, probably. It'll be a Wednesday, won't it?
And they're going to pull the trigger. And I think that's the position.
Are they pulling the trigger? Or are they flipping the switch? I need to know.
Position that they're in. They're in this position of kind of like
doggy style,
laying this trap, so to speak, and
totally.
kind of holding that
that's a trap
Trump card. I really feel like these generals are really, they're 5D tripping out here. They're really
they're 5D tripping,
playing a game of some real high, powerful, sophisticated shit.
And yeah, totally. I mean, you can't even think in terms of how deep and the angles. Like, they know when the perfect time to put the perfect guy, and we mean, of course, Trump, in the perfect position of power after he already lost the election. It'll be, you watch, ha.
And it's just a scary ride for all of us, really, because, you know, whether you think it's 5D or you think it's some super 5D chess, it's still scary. You know what I mean? It's still scary to watch what's happening. And
yeah.
But I think we got this.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Okay, I got to go do a show. But for those of you that haven't seen the QAnon HBO documentary, and I know Nat's watched it, a couple other people. This is ongoing. These fuck ups actually are still, they're all in on this nonsense. Still. It's friggin' goofy. It's the weirdest. I don't know how you wake up every morning still selling yourself this. Obviously, Dave Rodriguez, that's this guy with the gray hat, he's obviously having a crisis right now trying to believe this bullshit. And he's probably clinging to his Christianity as a way of, you know, seeing him through it, which is a shame that it should tarnish an actual religion with this kind of pseudo-religious Jonestown horse shit that the rest of these assholes are bought in on. But the other three of them are just friggin' all in on that Trump is the Messiah. Not even like he's kind of, he's part of the, he's the actual dude. That Jesus has come back and he's in this, that person's carcass. Ugh. All right, I gotta go do a show. I adore you guys. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'm glad the system worked. This is good. So we'll be able to do radio tomorrow, hopefully, if it sounded okay and looked okay for the most part. As far as quality, I hope so. But anyways, I gotta go do a show. Cheers. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for the radio show, 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific time. The House Parks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, will be streaming tomorrow. And I'll see you then. And you guys are awesome. And now I gotta go do a show. Bye.